God has plans to prosper you, give you hope and a future too. So let me remind you of what you have the power to do.
You've been on a journey, trying to find your way. Like the sun, you're rising, 'cause today's your day to unlock every gift inside. Let your potential flow. Don't let anybody kill your vibe. Time to bust up and show. Gotta keep on reaching, keep believing. Act like you know you can win. Live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra. We've got wellness, church by phone. You don't even have to leave your home to be inspired. To rise a little higher with Cassandra. They said you'd never make it, but you're still here. Kept on pushing through all your doubts and fears. Never let a hater see you sweat. Remember who you are. When they go low, let them reap what they sow while you go far. Gotta keep on reaching, keep believing. Baby, shine like a star. You can win, live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra. If you got haters, they gon' hate. Keep your head up and just be great. It's your season, your winning season with Cassandra. Rise up, time to get on your grind. Go after your dreams, no time to fall behind. Push till the end and never give in. It's your winning season, get ready to win. Keep moving forward and never look back. It's time to get motivated with Cassandra Mack. You can win, live your dreams, reach your goals. Be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra Mack. We've got wellness, church by phone. You don't even have to leave your home to be inspired. To rise a little higher with Cassandra Mack.
Today we're talking about how bullying, particularly the lead bully, is a head witch. Bullying is a form of witchcraft. And oftentimes when people think about bullying behaviors, whether it's happening at the job or even in a church, that they only look at it in the natural. But the person who is the head bully is also a head witch, and they're dabbling in the demonic even if they're not aware, even if they have no knowledge about what the Bible has to say. That doesn't make it untrue because they've never read it. So it is important to understand that you are dealing with two things simultaneously. You are dealing with the actual behaviors that you can detect through your five senses, but you are also dealing with spiritual warfare. And if you are naive about the fact that you are dealing with spiritual warfare, you will only attack the situation from what you can see as opposed to what's happening spiritually, the spiritual warfare aspect of it, when you are dealing with someone who tries to manipulate, control, and dominate others, because that's the essence of witchcraft, spiritually speaking. So I want to start with a scripture that really talks about the two realities happening at the same time. And that's Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." And so right off the bat, the scripture is letting us know that the real fight, the real problem is not what you can see with your eyes, that's just the manifestation of the problem. And yes, we do need to deal with it, right? But what it is saying is that the real fight is spiritual. That's the real wrestle. It is the principalities, the powers, and the spiritual wickedness behind the actual actions that you can see and the words that you can hear. That you're fighting on two fronts, so to speak, physical and spiritual. So we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And if we only think that the fight is what we can see, what begins to happen is when you have somebody who is an enemy coming against you, you don't prepare yourself mentally for the different ways that they may try to come against you, because you're only looking at it through that one incident that you can see, not realizing that there's a whole bunch of wickedness behind that you can't see. So there are two realities, spiritual reality and physical reality. Spiritual reality is the causal realm of life. Physical reality is the effectual realm, the manifested realm. Science refers to it as cause and effect. For every effect in this world, there is an originating cause. Let me give you an example to make it plain. We have two men, Bob and Sam. Bob sees Sam. Sam has on a nice jacket. Bob has a wicked heart, and he wants to take Sam's jacket. So Bob is 6'2", 270 pounds. Sam is 5'5". So Bob is sizing Sam up, saying, I can take him and I can take his jacket. This is happening in Bob's mind. Sam can't hear this. And so Bob follows Sam. He assaults him and takes his jacket. Now, what we see with our eyes is the effect. We see the assault and the robbery. That's what people see with their eyes. That's the experience that Sam physically experienced. But before that happened, spiritually, there was a whole governing principality and spiritual wickedness involved in Bob's actions. So Bob saw Sam's jacket and coveted. So he had lust, because lust is not just sexual lust. He had lust and coveting in his heart, which gave way to envy and greed. Through envy and greed, but you don't see that with your eyes necessarily. You can see the effects of it, but you don't see the spirit of it. You discern it. You discern it. This is why spiritual discernment is so important. And so spiritually, that wickedness was in Bob's heart, and he acted out what was already in his heart. So spiritually, what's happening is coveting, lust, greed, wickedness, dominance. That's happening spiritually. But what we see is the assault and the theft. And so this is why it is so important to discern people, situations, and environments. This is where situational awareness comes into play. All of these different things come to play. Now, it is not Sam's fault. Let me be clear. Sam is a victim. The example that I'm giving you is to illustrate that there are two realities happening at once. And the reality that you see is the theft and the assault. But it didn't start there. That's just the effect. It started in the spiritual realm. It started in the causal realm. And so similarly, when you are dealing with that lead bully, be it in your family, your church, your job, the head bully is actually a head witch. Even if they don't realize it, they are a head witch. Now, I want to define some terms. So, the world defines witchcraft as the practice of magic or supernatural powers with the intent often to cause harm. But spiritually speaking, witchcraft is much broader and deeper than that. It comes down to the desire to control others by three primary means: manipulation, intimidation, and domination, with the intent to cause harm and to get others to bend to their will. And so we see in the example with Bob and Sam that Bob dominated Sam to cause harm to take his jacket. So Bob was actually operating in witchcraft. He was operating as a whole demon. He was dealing in the demonic, although we don't look at it that way. And so there are two realities: the physical reality, right? So when a thief is scanning someone's house and planning to break into their house, the break-in hasn't happened yet. And so the planning, the plotting, the wicked plan and the plot, that's happening in the spiritual realm of the thief's heart and mind. And then the physical reality happens when they try to break through a window, kick down a door. And if you are living in a gun-carrying state, then you're going to do what you got to do to defend yourself when they come through that door. So it is important to understand that there are two realities going on at once, right? And so that is the physical aspect of it. But because you also know that there's evils in the world, you may have cameras, you may have alarms. The reason you have your gun if you live in a gun-carrying state is because you are aware of the causal realm of life. Before anyone even breaks in the home, you are aware that there are people who think like that, who have a desire to do evil. So there are two realities going on at once. So when you have a head witch, be it in your family, on your job, even in the church, you're going to see three primary methods that they try to bend people to their will and they try to cause harm: manipulation, intimidation, and domination. Let's look at each of these. So manipulation is the desire to control others by deceptive methods, usually subtly trying to influence their beliefs, their behaviors, and their decisions. And so when you think about a person who's envious of someone else, who's never done anything to them, and they begin to tell lies about this person. And if you've ever been the subject of somebody's lies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They start rumors about this individual. They're practicing witchcraft because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get those who are listening to the lies and rumors to believe something about you, to behave a certain way about you, which is going to influence their decisions towards you. And so this is why you could be part of a friend group. You have a friend who is a so-called friend, but really a wolf in sheep's clothing, who never really liked you to begin with, but they were good at hiding it. And they're trying to turn the other people in the group against you. They're telling lies. Maybe they're saying you tried to sleep with their boyfriend and you did not. And they're lying left and right. And people who are weak-minded and don't think for themselves will begin to believe the lies. And now your friends don't, or so-called friends, because really they were flaky friends. Now they don't call you anymore. They never invite you out. But that is all because the head witch in that group was able to shape their beliefs about you without them giving you a fair chance on your own. This happens all the time. And we fail to realize that there are two realities happening at once. And a lot of times people don't even realize when other people are trying to control and confuse them. So, which is often used a lot of confusion. You may have an uneasy feeling in your gut that doesn't match the person's words, or you may feel trapped. But sometimes in their requests, like they guilt you into saying yes to something you really don't want to say yes to. And a lot of times we don't look at what's happening spiritually. So it's important to understand that the goal of manipulation is to gain influence for that person's selfish agenda. And they do so for habitual power and control, and they use deceptive methods. So they may act like they care, but they do not. So this is manipulation, and this is important to see it for what it is. And they use covert manipulation tactics, unlike someone who is dominating. We'll get to dominance last. That is not covert, that's very overt. And so it'll be covert passive aggressiveness, right? Whether they're lying, whether they're trying to gaslight you. So let's say you confront the bully and they will cry like they're the victim. And you're like, you were the one lying on me, spreading rumors about me. And you were sitting here crying. You were the one that said this disrespectful thing to me. How are you crying? How can you disrespect me? And now you crying victim tears because I confront you and you want to tell me I misunderstood. No, baby, I understood you perfectly. So do understand that. Next is intimidation. So that's the next thing of which we'll do. So think about that head bully that's trying to turn people against you at the job and your family. They will use intimidation. Now, intimidation doesn't always involve direct threats. Sometimes intimidation can be achieved with a look or a tone. So it could also be telling a story meant to provoke fear. So think about a person who's telling a story while you're there, and they're telling the story in the third person. They're telling that story to provoke fear in you. I'll give you an example. This really happened in my own life. I was in college at the time. And I had a friend, we will call her Tina, not her real name. Let's give them names, Tina and Cindy. So Tina, Cindy, myself, we all, were friends at that time. We're in college. And I found out Cindy and Tina were talking about me, but Tina was really going in. I mean, Tina was trash talking me, and Tina and I would hang out and, so forth. And there were signs, but I ignored those signs, right? A lot of times when we're young, we ignore those signs. And so I started backing away from Tina because of all the crazy things that she was saying about me. So one day, we are in one of the campus buildings, buildings, and she sees me, and so she approaches me. So she's with a friend, and I'm with a friend as well. She's with her friend, and I'm with one of my friends. And so she approaches me, and she was like, I want to know why you don't speak to me. I said, you know what you said about me. And so then the other girl, Cindy, also comes. So it's her friend, Cindy, and me and my one friend. And we're all like 18 at the time. We're in college. So, it comes out what was said, right? And she says, so Tina says, Cindy walks away. And Tina says, Cindy doesn't know, but I'm about that life. I'm from, let's say, we're not going to say exactly where she's from. I'll just say New York. I'm from New York, and she don't understand that I'll have girls jump her. So this is what she's saying to me as Cindy walks away, right? So mama done raised no fool. I understood that was an implied threat because you would say that to her. So the fact that you're saying that to me is you are trying to let me know. So, now I want to say this. Let me preface my behavior. I'm 18 at the time, so this is a long time ago. I have grown beyond this, so I might respond differently now. So she says that to me as an implied threat. Cindy don't know I'll have some girls jump her. And I was like, well, I don't know about Cindy. I can't speak on Cindy, but I'm going to let you know, Tina, right now, that if that comment is made for me, we could fight right here, right now. And then she was like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. And she walked away. And I'm like, it's funny how you don't have time. You had all the time in the world when you thought because I spoke properly that I was scared of you. Like, I'm about that life too. You ain't the only one. We both got peoples. And so, anyway, she walks away and we just stop speaking. But I say that to say that that was an implied threat. That was intimidation. So she was trying to intimidate me, thinking because I spoke proper and I went to all my classes and I handed my assignments in on time, that she could intimidate me. I was like, I will drag you. I'm really exercising a lot of self-restraint here. So do understand that a person can tell you a story about someone else and you realize that this is not meant for them because they're not even here. This is meant for me. You're trying to intimidate me. And it doesn't have to be that extreme. That was an extreme story that happened, when I was in college. So it doesn't have to be that extreme where it comes down to someone making a physical violent threat. Now I would hopefully I would report it to the priest, and hopefully I would ask God to give me the strength and to report it and handle it, the right way. But back then I'm 18. So do understand that when you're dealing with a bully, you're dealing with a witch. And when they realize that they can't manipulate you, so once Tina realized she couldn't manipulate me anymore and I found out she was behind the scenes doing all of this stuff, then she upped the ante to try to intimidate me. And so do know that you will see this. So how this looks on the job sometimes is, let's say that you have a supervisor who's trash talking one of the workers. And let's say this worker is a very attractive woman, dresses nicely, and the supervisor is envious of her. So she constantly talks about how awful this girl looks, this young woman looks, and everybody's laughing with the supervisor. This is highly unprofessional behavior. It's abusive behavior, actually. And let's say she's talking behind that worker's back, so the worker can sense something is off, but she doesn't know exactly what's being said because it's being said behind her back. And let's say somebody at the table actually stands up for the worker and says, well, I think she looks nice. And the supervisor gives her a look, and from that day forward, the supervisor gives her the worst assignments, denies her request for vacation initially, and just does everything to make her life uncomfortable at that job. So she's not threatening her, so to speak, openly, but clearly you could see the threat in motion. So intimidation can look different ways. And what's happening is that supervisor who is also the head bully, is operating in witchcraft. And those who are jumping on the bullying bandwagon and laughing at the mean things she's saying about that staff person, they're also dabbling in that. They're under that influence. And sometimes it's because people are afraid. So they see what happened to the one who spoke up and said, well, I actually think she looks nice. And so what happens is it keeps everybody else in line because they see that, oh, she actually spoke up and the supervisor gave her the worst assignments and gives her the worst vacation days. I don't want that to be me, so I'm just going to not say anything, or I'm going to laugh along with it, even though in my heart I know it's wrong. In my heart, I don't hate that woman. She's never done anything to me, but I don't want to be in her position on the outs. Better her than me. And so they just trying to survive. Now, we're not saying it's right. What we're saying is you need to understand what's happening behind the scenes. So that's intimidation. And then lastly is domination. And so when someone is dominating, they are exerting power and authority over you. And it doesn't always have to be physical. So I gave you the physical example with Bob and Sam. But on the job, It can be threatening to fire you. That's domination because your supervisor is in a position of power over you in terms of the role, meaning that they sign off. No one has power over your humanity. So that's not what I mean. But what I'm talking about is power in terms of they're in a position to make decisions that influence your employment for as long as you're employed at that organization. I want to be very clear with my language. And so that would be a form of domination, that they're threatening to fire you, but you are not breaking any of the policy and procedural rules. It's just about the fact that they can't control you and bend you to their will. And so you're dealing with witchcraft. And while, of course, you want to line your ducks up in a row, document. So that's what you're doing physically, right? Because there's two realities. But spiritually, you also want to make sure that you are putting on the whole armor of God, that you're attacking it both fronts. So I want to tell you all about a workshop for those of you who may not know. And it is my Discernment 101 workshop, because spiritual things have to be discerned, right? Spiritual things have to be discerned. And you can actually train your powers of discernment. I'll give you the scripture in a moment. So on Saturday, March 29th, I'm going to be doing a workshop. It'll be 12 noon on Zoom. So wherever you are in the world, you are able to attend. It is a ticketed event. The link will be in the video description box. When you click on the link, it'll take you to my Eventbrite page so that you can find out more, including ticket prices. And this workshop, Spiritual Discernment 101, how to sharpen your sixth sense for maximum effectiveness and insight, is really going to give you the nuts and bolts of how to train your powers of discernment. And it's also going to come with a workbook that you will use during the workshop and that you can continue to use after the workshop for your continued growth. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 14 tells us this: but solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. So we know that discernment is a gift that comes from the Holy Spirit, but in order for us to grow in discernment, to sharpen our discernment, to strengthen our discernment, those powers of discernment have to be trained. And so if you want to learn how to train your powers of discernment for maximum effectiveness and insight, so that it becomes increasingly difficult to pull the wool over your eyes, it becomes increasingly difficult to bait you. You'll see it from a mile away with your eagle eyes, so to speak. It will be increasingly difficult to scam you, because you will see through the scam and you will see through the veneer of social pleasantry that people put on in terms of their mask, and you'll really begin to see the spirit operating behind the particular person, the environment. Because not only do we discern people, situations, and environments. This is very important. And so how are you doing that so that even when you're walking into a room, you know what you're walking into very quickly? Because your whole purpose of discernment is to be able to judge good from evil, and not judge in terms of look down on, judge in terms of evaluate, assess, distinguish. You need to be able to do that quickly. And here's the thing that's important to keep in mind about discernment, and this may merit a separate video, but discernment, spiritual discernment, sees beyond the limits of logic, word choice, analysis, and external appearances. It sees beyond those four things. So a person's word choice can be, girl, I'm loving your dress. That's the word choice. But when you're discerning, you can see beyond that, and you can see when it's fake and it's flattering and they really don't rock with you like that, but they're trying to hide their true heart. So discernment sees beyond a person's word choice. It sees beyond the external appearances. So someone can say, hey, I brought you a cup of coffee, and you know not to drink it. You know not to drink anything they give you, not to eat anything they give you. So from external appearances, it seems like it's a nice thing. It seems like it's a good deed. But remember, even Satan masquerades as an angel of light. And we know that there are wonderful, good people in the world who are walking the path, right? Who are moving forward in the things of God. Absolutely. But that's not what we're talking about in this video. So discernment sees beyond external appearances. Discernment sees beyond logic. When you look at the situation logically, right, you can have someone who has a lot more than you. So let's say you have someone, they have a bigger house. They have a higher paying salaried job. So when you line everything up, you may look at it in the natural and you may believe that it's impossible for that person to be envious of you because they have more than you materially. They have more than you social status wise. But never forget that there came a time where King Saul, now he's the king, right? There came a time where King Saul became jealous of David. So David was under King Saul's employ. King Saul had more money than him, more prestige in every way. But he was still envious because of the love the people had, the respect that David commanded. People feared King Saul because he was the king and they knew that he can just order them to be beheaded. But there was a level of love and respect, and this is why the people came out in droves to cheer for David more so than they came for Saul. But if you look at it logically, you say, well, logically, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that they would be envious. That's just not logical. See, discernment sees beyond logic. It sees above and beyond logic. And this is why your powers of discernment have to be trained, because you can be relying on logic, analysis, word choice, and external appearances, and somebody will lull you to sleep or scam you, or they catch you slipping and sleeping. So the discernment workshop, I would definitely encourage you, if you are serious about training your powers of discernment, to make the investment in the workshop. So again, it's happening Saturday, March 29th. The link is in the video description box. A couple of other things I want to make sure that you know about. So I always like to make sure you know about things we have beyond the free public videos, because the free public videos only give you a fraction of the depth and the width and how deep I dive into these topics. And if you want more than what the free public videos offer, I want to make sure that you know about that. We also have a wellness club. So the wellness club is one of the features of being a member of the Cassandra Mack YouTube channel at the wellness club tier. And we meet by telephone conference call the first and third Wednesday of every month, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we focus on mental, emotional self-care and workplace well-being through a biblical lens. And it's interactive. You have an opportunity to speak with me live on the phone, but you also have an opportunity to share your thoughts and even some of your struggles on the call. You'll hear from other members as well. As interactive. And so that is when you become a member at the wellness tier, you have access to those calls. We also have a leadership circle. So if you are a supervisor, a director, you own your own business, and you want to learn how to lead with integrity, biblical principles for leadership, then join at the leaders tier. We have a Zoom call once a month exclusively for leaders, entrepreneurs. And then last but not least, if you're dealing with haters, get the book Rise Above the Haters. That book is part journal, part workbook, part guide, biblical guide, that guides you through a very specific process of rising above the haters. You can't make people like you, but you can choose to walk in purpose and destiny despite who doesn't like you, who doesn't want to see you win. And that's what the book will show you how to do. And I know I said last but not least, our soul fast, the annual soul fast we do every year, it starts on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. The video is linked. The soul fast video was linked to this video so that you can see what the soul fast entails. It's based on my book, The Soul Fast Workbook. And you can watch the video to learn more about it if you want to do the corporate soul fast with Cassandra Mack Ministries. So with that being said, remember that when you are dealing with somebody who is engaging in bullying behavior in your family, at your job, even in your church, that you're dealing with a witch. So you're fighting on two levels. What you can tangibly see, that you have to tangibly deal with, Whether you do that through documentation, whether you do that through following up with HR if it's happening on the job and documenting, but do know HR is not always your friend. So you got to go into that wisely. Whether it's a family member and you have decided to pull back from that family member and you have made it very clear that they are not welcome in your home, you don't hate them, but you're not going to expose yourself to the enemy. You don't hate them, right? The Bible says pray for your enemies, but it doesn't say stay. You don't have to have them in your house. You can pray in your home. You could pray they get right with God. You could pray they stop participating in witchcraft and that they repent. So those are prayers you could pray. So I hope this is helpful so that you understand that there are always two realities: the causal realm, which is the spirit realm, and the effectual realm. And we're going to delve into that much more deeply in the discernment workshop. And then we're having another workshop in April, and it is how to read the room. How to read the room. Because so often people go into rooms and they don't know how to read the room. But this workshop is how to read the room spiritually. How to really begin to know what you're dealing with. So, with that being said, have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless.